No, yes. No. Okay. So you are able to see, right, the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So anyway, so before we start, so the last class, we have discussed, of course, previous classes, dead load, live load, and others. So we started discussing about this wind code, okay, in the last class itself. And we have said wind is a very, dangerous thing, and you followed, right? Essentially near the coast, and there are several places in India, say, where you can have, very high wind speeds, and you have to do the design, okay. And one most important thing you please understand, wind design, of course, in the course we are doing only as a force kind of a thing, but there may be, the inundation and others, you see. So these are storm surges, we say. This also is very important. Your structure may be safe, but if you are located in a low lying displace, then also, your design may be fine, but if water enters the house, then that is also a big issue actually, okay. So anyway, we are not discussing all this, just as a briefly, where I am mentioning you in this the wind design. So this also we have said the most important point was 10 meters. Okay, so this is our benchmark. So whenever somebody says, IMD or some other person, wind speed is, this much, say, that means, he would have measured at 10 meter above the surface, maybe 10 to 30 or something like that, they mention. So this also we have seen boundary layer, gradient height and gradient speed. And then the effect of topography has a very, very huge this thing on the depth of the boundary layer, and then that alpha. Okay, so how these things are going to have. So this we have seen in our last class. Urban structures will have different Z values, So this is a very, very important thing. And these are famous equations given by Davenport. Okay, how wind varies with respect to height. So this also we have discussed, and most important thing what I told you was in our wind analysis, see the analytical way, like solving equations of motion analytically, doing the model, because wind is a non-linear, right? It is a fluid mechanics or gas, you understand. So all those things comes into picture. So it is very, very complex. So what one does, in our building code or in the most of the studies, they go with this wind tunnel test. Okay, so this is a what a wind tunnel I showed you, which is a ACRC, so they may construct, all these kinds of specimens, and then they study also. And here one more important technical term which all of you should understand is, like if I have a building, say, okay, so now what do you mean by vortex shedding? So yesterday's class I told you what is meant by vortex shedding. Vortices. Okay, so I showed you an animation also. So what happens when the wind, if your structure is here, when the wind is blowing like this, so what happens?
Sir, there will be vortices on the other end, and these
What is another end?
vortices, they'll
Finally,
go,
what happens to your structure?
it keeps oscillating, and then our structure will start vibrating.
Now, vibrating in which direction? That is more important. So if force is applied in this direction, say, it will vibrate in this direction only. But in wind, what happens because of vortices? It also vibrates in opposite direction also. Okay, so this is what across wind, along wind, we discussed in our last class. So this is what they call as a vortex shedding. Okay, so because of this type of the perpendicular movement also it happens. Then if you are having a near adjacent buildings, then you will have an interference effect. These vortices, these you followed, right? You will have so many interference effects and others. So most of them, they do this type of wind tunnel testing. You can see a full city itself. They test it in wind tunnels to understand, how the wind forces, it looks like on the buildings. So this also I told. So most on then when you are having a bridge, say, so these also people do like the topography. You can see a mountain, built it in the lab, and then you see this is a bridge here, approach road is there. So they test everything in the lab, and then they report all these results. Based on these results, they do this design and other things. They try to do this one, but these type of things they do only for important structures. Okay, not for ordinary, the buildings. For ordinary buildings you can use the code, but all the codal formulas, they have come from wind tunnel test itself. Okay, so this is what we said. So 6 zones are there. Highest speed in the country is 55 meter per second, and lowest is the 33. Okay, so the most dangerous also we have seen Leh, and then Agartala I followed it, some of the places. So this we have said, and then the design wind speed you have to multiply by some 3 numbers are there. And what is the most unique thing with respect to our wind code? Last class I told you is essentially with respect to IS 875.
Return period.
Excellent. So return period. What is the wind? Our wind code says. What is the return period? This map belongs to
50 years.
50 years. So what is the advantage of return period? Reciprocal of return period is
probability of exceedance.
Excellent. Exceeding something means it is a failure essentially. Okay, so you know how much risk you are taking. So now in our IS code say for 50-year design period, what is the risk you are taking? So my building lifetime is also 50 years. Okay, and I am taking a mean wind value of 50-year return period. So what is the probability of exceedance? Last class I told you how much is the value?
63.5.
63 point. So if you are designing as per wind code say and 50-year return period, you are taking 63% risk. So once you know risk, you cover with insurance. Okay. And now our code also, if you design life is more, then obviously these numbers also increase. Okay. So this is a very important thing. Then terrain categories also we have seen because wind speed matters with these terrains also. So when there are obstructions are there, say, then you follow it, you will have some other extra constants or extra corrections you have to do. Okay, 3, 4, and then also we have seen. Then finally we came to the topography factor. So our code topography means, our code clearly says that when the upwind slope say is more than 3 degrees only, we call this as a topography. If the slope is less than 3 degrees, say, then no need to, you can consider it as a flat ground itself, and this factor K3 say you can take it to be 1 itself. Okay, more than 3. So this is a definition of the upwind slope. Upwind means the wind is blowing in this direction, say. Okay, so this we call as a upwind slope. Suppose if this wind is blowing in this direction, so then this becomes upwind, this becomes downwind kind of thing itself. Okay, so this is the important thing. So now this figure shows you the effect of topography. So what it says, LE is the effective length. Okay. So there is some small formula is there. So if I know Z says Z by 0.3, theta 3 17, then greater than 17, they give an expression. So once you know this one say, so 1.5 times of your effective length say, okay, so this portion gets affected and this portion gets affected in 2.5 times. So just approximately they say, whenever you are having a mountain, if you know the slopes, so this much amount of the region say gets affected due to the topography kind of a thing. Okay. So and then our code, what they do is, once you know the effective length of your topography feature, so they have this topography factor K3. So it is given by 1 plus CS, where so this also depends on the slope. 3 to 10, 17, so it is 1.2 Z by L. Otherwise, it is 0.36 itself. So and then so this factor say yes actually. Okay, so this is for C and this yes. They give some figures are there in the code. You can see also figure 14, figure 15. It is given, I think, in the appendix. Okay, in the down this one. So this is what they define. So cliff and escarpment say. So they define this as like this. And these are also hill and ridge say. So it depends downwind slope. Okay, if it is less than 3, they call as a crust or something. And if it is downwind slope is more than 3 degrees, say, we call this as a cliff and escarpment kind of a thing. And our code gives these type of design charts. So, for cliff and escarpment, say, you have to use this. And for ridge and hill, say, you have to use this itself. So these are the contour maps they give. And these numbers, they have come from, you see, the wind tunnel tests actually. Okay. So they have done variety of, the tests, and then you see these numbers have been turned up. So these are the design charts. So I know the upwind slope where my structure is located, X is where my structure is located, then H height is also there. So from this chart, say, you pick up your S value. So if this is for cliff and escarpment, this is for ridge and hill itself. So pick up this value, substitute here. So yes, you can find out C also, and you can once K3 say your whatever map that the wind map, that 55 meter per second or something. So these factors have to be multiplied. So this is how we obtain K1, K2, K3. So just to summarize, so this is my design wind speed. So VB, this comes from the map. Okay. So then there are 3 factors, K1, K2, K3. So this is a probability factor. So you decide actually if the lifetime is different or something. So this factor has to be altered, and this depends on your terrain. Okay, so terrain and of course the height also. It gives you the all the heights we give. Then this factor say it depends on the topography. So if you are not located on topography, so if it is a flat terrain, say, so this factor can be ignored actually. K3 becomes 1 itself. Now K1, K2 say, so they depend on your terrain and of course the probability. And suppose if you are taking 50-year design lifetime, say, your building is also 50 years, like apartments lifetime is 50 years. So then K1 also becomes 1, K3 also becomes 1. So you have to worry only about this K2 itself. Okay, so that is how these numbers looks like. And K3, so this topography factor also. So this also lies somewhere, because it is, you see, 1 plus C times S. And yes, if we see the contours, S values are all very, very small. You can see 0.2, 0.0, 0.5, 0.5 like that it turns out to be. So more or less 1 to 1 point, some 3.6 or something, you see, it lies in between these ranges itself. So this is how to select our design, the wind speeds. And now our codes, the wind code, if you see, it tells you can calculate the, the whole building. You can find out the wind force. You can find out individual elements also, roofs and walls, and then you see cladding units. It gives you all kinds of, the detailed things are there. I will just show you one. So now once you have this VB, that is a design wind speed you have got, then you have to find out the design wind pressure also, like for all the cases. So this is given by this expression 0.6 times. This also comes from some law. So this, so the wind force can be found out from 0.6 times Vz square. So this gives you the design, the wind pressure. Now, if you want to find out roofs and walls, say, so you have to use this expression. Okay, pressure coefficient, then internal pressure multiplied by area and then multiplied by Pz itself. So our code helps us to calculate, for the building as a whole, individual elements, individual cladding units you can calculate, and then you can do your design itself. Okay. So these are some charts they have given. All of them have come from wind tunnel. So like you see, the building plan is like this, say, okay, and if the wind is blowing at 0 degrees, 90-degree wind actually. So then what will be the CPE, that is a pressure coefficient, external pressure, internal pressure, so they will give you all these type of charts, A, B, C, D, this wall, that wall, you follow, right? All other things they will provide it to you based on the this one. And then this is for the roofs. So the roof is like this, say. So they will give you all these type of numbers itself. So using that, you can find out, the overall pressure on the building. Then you can also find out on each individual elements also. So you do that, you can do your design. So that is how the wind code is done. Okay. So now as far as this course is concerned, say, what we expect from, because it's the first time you are doing. So what we expect is, if we can get this Vz value, that is more or less sufficient for this this course. So the detailed designs and other things, I already told you that we have another course, CE 4640, wind and earthquake resistant. We have a separate courses there. So there you will do all these details, that that building, then the walls, roofs and other things, checking for wind designs. You will learn in CE 4640 course. As far as this course is concerned, we are doing steel design, not the member design. So here this much information is sufficient. So what we expect from is, these type of problems we should be able to solve, like you should be able to calculate this Vz, that is more or less sufficient. So you should be able to calculate K1, K2, K3, say. So if I can do this one, that is more or less sufficient for this course itself. Okay. So now you can see this is a typical problem which is available in Duggal's textbook also. So if I have a bridge, say, a lifetime of a bridge is 100 years span they have given, and located about 20 kilometers from the Allahabad city, say. Okay. So these are the numbers. So now for Allahabad, so now to calculate this Vz, you should know VB. So this should come from the map. Okay. So if I see this map, say, so what will be the Allahabad is located where? You can see this. So Allahabad is located. So what is the wind speed for Allahabad? So the values are 55 is the first, then 50, then 47, then 44, then 39, I think 33, or you can see this figure maybe. So what's the design value for, what is the wind speed for the this VB for Allahabad? See this
47.
47. So it is located here, somewhere here. So you have 47. So this is the most important thing. So 47 is done. Okay. And now you have to find out K1, K2, K3. Now K1, K2, K3 these are the three factors. Okay. So now what is the, now the bridge lifetime is 100 years. So now what will be the K1? Now what will be K1 for 100-year lifetime? So code gives 50, but now you are asking the bridge lifetime is more, 100 actual. So now what is the value? See this graph chart and tell me. And wind speed is 47. Okay, VB. 1 point?
1.07.
1.07. Excellent. Okay, so this also is done. And now we have to find out K2. So now this belongs to terrain category. Okay, so Allahabad, what type of terrain you assume, you know? So in the problem, what he has assumed, let us see. Now, if the bridge is in the outskirts, okay, so what type of terrain it is?
Level terrain.
So you can see K2, you know, category B kind of a thing they have taken. So this of course depends. Okay, so they have to specify all these details itself. So we take K2 as, you know, the 1.1. So I think let me see the table also. So now 1.1 somewhere, if on the bridge height also matters. Okay, so how much is the height of the bridge or something like that. So 1.1 he has taken for this class. So what is the class B? Their dimension should be between 20 and 50 meters actual. Okay, vertical are this much. Okay, so based on this one, say, so you classify your bridge depending on the dimensions, class A, class B, or class C, and then, you know, based on the height of the building, say, so 30 meters, say. So now approximately you followed it, you take this number itself. So he has taken as 1.1. Okay, category this thing. So that details will be provided to you. So once you know all these numbers, say, and then Allahabad, what is the topography factor? K3. Now Allahabad is what? You will see any mountains are there near Allahabad?
No.
No, Allahabad whole Ganga basin, say Allahabad, Kanpur, or wherever, you will not see any rock actually. Okay, so now Allahabad, what happens? The topography, there is no topography, it is all flat Gangal plains. So slope is obviously less than 3 degrees. So you know this will be 1 itself. Okay, but if you are located, let us say very like, you know, Rishikesh, if you are there, say, now what are Rishikesh, or maybe outskirts of Rishikesh, you know, you can have huge mountains are there, even in Tirupati. Okay, so we have a huge mountain, you see, backside near Tirupati also. So it depends, okay, based on the where you are located. Okay, whether you are located near the top of the hill or bottom of the hill. So this matters. So now for Allahabad, it will be 1 itself. So now substitute all these numbers here. So you will get, you followed it, 57.83, you know, meter per second itself. So this is a design wind speed for Allahabad, and it is for this bridge design, that is, you know, 100 years lifetime. So now you can see, so the original value was 47. Okay, now because of this factors, K1, K2, K3, so now the value has been increased to 57.83 meter per second. Now the design wind pressure, say, it is simply, you know, 0.6 into, you followed it, Vz square itself. So this also you can easily calculate, and this is the design wind pressure. Okay, so this is how we do all the calculations. So this much it is sufficient for this course. Okay, so in this course we will not ask you to do any design or to find out, you see, pressure on the roof and other things. So that you will learn anyway, you know, in this course itself. So in this course, what I expect from you is you should be able to at least get this Vz value. You should be able to pick up, okay, and the Pz also. Pz anyway is a substitution only, 0.6 times Vz squares. So if you're comfortable with this, it is more or less sufficient as far as this course is concerned. Okay. So now this is not the end of wind, you know, the design. Okay. So now if you are designing a tall building, so you have to do more, you know, work. So this slide is basically advertisement. Okay. So this is basically advertisement for other course. So in other course, CE46, that you know, that code. So when you are designing a tall building, say, if you follow IS code and then you do the design, that itself is not sufficient. Okay, so you have to do a lot of you know, the analysis has to be there. Now, any of you remember this building? Now, what is this building? Now, this building is located where?
Taiwan.
Taiwan, you followed, right? Taipei, I think 101 they say. You remember? Taipei 101 or something. So this is a huge tall building. So what they have done for, you know, any of you know, have an idea? So what they have done for this type of wind loads and as well as, you know, tall buildings, it's a very, very, you know, serious issue. And not only the building has to be safe, but discomfort also should not be there. So when wind blows or when there is an earthquake or when there is any vibration, so the vibration levels also should be very, very, your comfort matters. Okay, it should be very small. It's not only safety. Okay, so this also should be done. What they have done here to arrest this winds. So this you can see this is a huge spear is there, like a ball kind of a thing. So 18 feet in diameter actually, and it weighs 728 tons. So between 87th floor to 92 floor, no, this is put up. So this is what they call as a tuned mass damper. Okay, they have put up. So this is tuned mass damper cell. So the wind vibrations and other things you followed it just the suppresses. You can see there is, I think, a video also is there in YouTube. Okay, you can just see how it matters. Before I think we go, one more thing I just wanted to show you. So when you are doing designing a tall building, say, okay, not only just the design here, but you may have to do this, the simulations also. This is for the Burj, Dubai. You can see the vortices here. See this nice video, that vortex shading and others, how they have done. So they have simulated, they have done wind tunnel test. They have even simulated in a software, that CFD software. You can see here. So these are all the vortices. See here it is a uniform velocity. You can see. So they have done the simulations in the wind speed. So this for tall buildings. So these are all mandatory. Okay. So you have to do all these studies, not only just the design formulas or something like that. Okay, so there is a Burj Dubai because the tallest building, no? So codes are not followed, right? So you have to do very special things. So you can see the vortex shading, the vortices, how they are formed because of this huge, the structure itself. Okay. So I think that type A also you can. See, this was also, I think, yes. No, so this is a a nice followed video. So when there was a hurricane, say, so the spear, I think 135 or huge things was there. See how this, the spear moved, the tuned mass damper, and it suppressed the, the vibrations actually of the building itself. So this is located in the, huge building itself. So this was a typhoon, so you can see 100 miles per hour, which is very, very fast. So this building damper, say, it can handle up to 135 miles per the hour itself, and then so it vibrated, I think 3 feet or something. The building was safe, and the building vibration was suppressed because of this tuned mass dampers. So they use this to suppress these dampers also, because comfort is also very, very important. Wind essentially in tall buildings. Okay. So these are some of the advantages, or whatever this one. So as already I told you, so all these things you will learn in CA 4640 course. So this is like an advertisement I have shown you. Okay. So wind design means not just essentially following the code, but tall buildings, you have to do something extra more than this, and you may have to do a dynamic analysis also. Okay. So we will not go into the details. So if any of you are interested, say, register for this course, or even the structural dynamics and other courses also, you will learn about this TMD and other techniques in great detail. Okay, so fine. So wind code means what we expect you from this course is the designed wind pressure. If you are able to calculate, say, K1, K2, K3, that is more or less sufficient for this course itself. Okay, so fine. Now next thing, let us say this earthquakes also. Okay, so this is also very, very the important load which comes on the structures, and the code response is IS 1893. Okay, so this is our earthquake code. It is not IS 875 part 1, part 2, part 3, because earthquakes are much more dangerous. So there is a special you followed it 1893, a full the code book comes for earthquakes itself. Now in earthquakes also, why they are very, very important to each other. So all of you would have studied in your soil mechanics or geology courses. So we know, right, all the faults are there. So this is basically a fault here. Okay. So now whenever there is an earthquake, say, so this fault, you see, it moves, okay, by some speed, and then you follow, right? So you will have this type of movement, and sudden movement will be there, and then you see the seismic waves starts, you follow it coming, and then you see the vibrating it will be. Now if you try to find out the rupture speed, say how much fast these faults moves during an earthquake. Can anybody guess how much will be the speed during an earthquake? How fast these faults moves? How much fast these faults moves? Just guess, See, what is the speed of a car on a highway nowadays?
80 kilometers per hour. 80 kilometers per hour.
80 kilometers. Nowadays, people are going 150, 160 followed. Toyota Fortuner, hi-fi cars have come. So 80 kilometers per hour, whatever you said. Okay. Now all of you have bikes, right? So some of you would have bikes. So what is your bike speed? So almost, I think 60 to 80, youngsters you followed, right? You drive at this type of speed actually. What's the speed of an aeroplane?
400 and something.
Something 400 or 800 kilometers, something like that is jets. Okay, 400 to 800. Bullet trains are coming. Fastest bullet train speed is how much? That bullet train is there, right? TGV something they say, Germany or somewhere, I think they have built. So the fastest bullet train speed is something, I think 500, if I'm not wrong. Kilometers per hour, like that. These are the speeds. Now in earthquake, what will be the speed? Guess and tell me. So our earthquake will be, earthquake speed will be less than this or higher than this?
Higher, sir.
Higher means how much high it will be? Just guess, number.
1500 or 1000 per hour.
So 1500 you are saying kilometer per hour, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the any other else? Any other guesses? Now, any other guesses for speed, earthquake speed? One person told 1500 kilometer per hour. Do you think it is lower or faster? Faster than this or slower than this? Any other guesses are there?
So around 1000 kilometers per hour.
Per hour. So this also guesses. Okay. So any other more? So do you think earthquakes will speed will be 1000 and 1500 kilometers per hour? So anyway, this is your guesses, but the actual thing is earthquake speed is 2 to 3 kilometers, okay, per second. You followed. So this is the speed of earthquakes. So do you think it is fast or slow?
So it's faster than this.
Extremely fast, right? 2 to 3 kilometers per second. That is the speed of earthquakes. You followed. And that is the most dangerous thing why we have to study this earthquakes itself. Because when things happen so fast, say, what happens? See what happens when things are moving that much fast, 2 to 3 kilometers per second. In a second, they can move up to 3 kilometers. This rupture, these faults. So when things are happening so fast, say what happens, it is like our, we are also part of Earth only. See, suppose suddenly some, things are happening very fast in your brain, say what happens, you will not be able to react actually. You followed. See, suppose when there is like during an accident, some unexpected things, so fastly it happens, say our brain freezes and we don't know what to do, and we also start shaking actually. You would have seen, right, during accidents or during some unfortunate, you followed, right, some situation happens, say human beings, how do we react? So we also, our hands will be shaking, you followed, our hands will be shaking and we also will be vibrating. So same thing happens to Earth also. So in Earth also, because things are happening so fast, say, so Earth also doesn't know what to do. So what happens, our Earth also starts shaking actually. You followed. So this is the most important thing in earthquakes. So when this shaking happens, you will see these type of, the seismic, the waves will come into picture. Okay. So this is a very, very, the important thing. All the headache in earthquakes comes because of this speed, right? Traffic, they say, speed thrills, but kills, they say. Now, same thing happens in earthquakes, but the speed is enormously high so that it can generate this type of seismic waves. If things for earthquake also, some of you told, no, if it was 1,000 km per hour, say, then no need to study earthquake resistant design itself, because things are moving very slow compared to 2 to 3 km. Seismic waves, they may get generated, but they will be very, very, the amplitudes will be very small, and no need to do design for this earthquakes itself. So the main headache why we have to worry about earthquakes is this fast, extremely fast, the speed itself. Because of the speed, earth doesn't know what to do, so it also starts shaking, and then you see the seismic waves will get created, and then all kinds of other issues will come into picture actually. Why earthquakes are important to engineers, say why we are studying this is, we all know, right? People gets killed not due to earthquakes, they get killed due to the collapse of buildings. The famous, everybody says this one. And why buildings fall during an earthquake? The reason is earthquakes. So you can see this figure. So these are the time histories, we say acceleration time histories. Okay, for Sikkim earthquake, I am showing you 2011 Sikkim, we had an earthquake. This is at Gangtok station. I think magnitude was 6.8. So Gangtok was some 150 km or something from the epicenter. So if I put up a seismograph, say, the instrument looks like this. Okay, so it records. So you can see the whole region, say, has shaken about 100 seconds. But of course, the majority is you followed, right, from here to here or something like that. So about 60 seconds, say, you can see this type of shaking. If you look at these, and we are having three components, east west direction, because the display acceleration is a vector, right? So the instrument will have three components, two horizontals, one vertical direction, north south, and vertical component kind of a thing. Now if I take the Fourier transform, say, you would have studied in your maths course, so then you will, the power spectral density or the Fourier amplitude spectra, if you plot, the plot looks like this. So earthquakes, if you see, they all have frequencies from 0 to 25 hertz. This is how the frequency content is located. But most of the energy is located from from where to where the maximum amplitudes are located, up to 25, or where are they are located?
Up to 10.
Up to 10. But where is the maximum amplitude for this special Sikkim earthquake? Yeah, somewhere around
5.
5 hertz actually. But of course, this is for Sikkim. If you see some other earthquakes here, you will see this. It may not at 5, it may be some other place, but majority will, the energy will be between 0.1 to 10 hertz. So this is the earthquake range, they say. Now our unfortunate thing is all our civil engineering structures say, so natural frequencies also lies in between 0.1 to 10 hertz itself. See, this is one formula we use, in the thumb rule kind of a thing. If I know the number of stories of the building, I can find out natural frequency from by 1 by 0.1 times, or the natural time period, say, because reciprocal of frequency. So this will be 0.1 times n. So this gives me the natural time period or natural frequency of the building. Now, if I have a single story building, so what is the natural frequency? Single story means n is 1. What is its natural frequency? Now, from this formula, 10 hertz. Okay, this is the natural frequency. Suppose if I have a 2-story building, so what is its natural frequency? Now 1 by 0.1 into 2, how much this number is? 10 by 2, it is 5 hertz. Now suppose if I have like this 10-story building, so what is the, for a 10-story building, how is the natural frequency? 1 hertz actually. You followed, right? So this is you can use this formula for buildings. Okay, the approximate formula kind of a thing. Suppose if I have a bridge, if I have any type of civil structures, a bridge means its natural frequency also will be around 0.1 or 0.5 hertz or 0.6 hertz depending on the span itself. So any civil structure you see, a chimney, water tank, building, all kinds of structures, our natural frequencies happens in this range only. And now what happens? Earthquakes frequency is also from 0.1 to 10. Ours is also 0.1 to 10. Now what happens when both are same?
Resonance.
Resonance, excellent. You would have studied in your other classes. Resonance happens. So what happens during resonance? So when both the your exciting frequency or the forcing frequency and your natural frequency, both of them are exactly same, say. So what happens? Resonance occurs. When resonance occurs, what happens? So this is amplitude of an earthquake actually. This is earthquake force, but your building frequency is also same, and both are in resonance. Say what happens? So these amplitudes will get. Now what happens during resonance?
Amplitudes get magnified.
Magnified, and finally what happens when the the things are magnified? Say automatically it leads to collapse actually. So and unfortunate thing is we are resonant all our civil engineering structures, they are resonance with this earthquake itself. Your mechanical friends, mechanical electrical people, they don't study earthquake resistant design because their generator, the what is it, piping, eeping, whatever they do, right? The generator, all the mechanical equipments, their natural frequencies will be somewhere around 15, 25 or 30 hertz like that actually. So what happens if it is a 30 hertz generator is there, say some 30 hertz system is there, and if earthquake occurs, whether that will respond? See, we have a generator or some structure which has a natural frequency of 30 hertz, say, whether it will respond during earthquakes?
No, sir.
Because there is no resonance, although that frequency may be there, but amplitudes are very very small. So so all mechanical fellows and electrical your friends, they will not study earthquakes. Okay, they say we are fine, you only civil structures only are resonant, so it is your headache, they say actually. And the unfortunate thing is, if you want to construct any mechanical structure, say, or the electrical structure, the foundation has to be designed by a civil engineer only, and foundation is a civil structure. So when an earthquake foundation collapses, say, that his generator also will go only. You understand, right? So finally, and the design of foundation also is the headache of a civil engineer only. So that is unfortunate thing. That is why you see we have to study this earthquakes. Okay. So this is IS 1893. So how to do designs? Our IS 1893, you see, it helps you to find out earthquake forces. So this is the zone map actually, seismic zone map we say. Okay. So the news, so whole our India, it is divided into 4 zones: zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, and zone 5. There is no zone 1. It was there long back, but they removed it in 2002. Okay. So now these are the peak ground accelerations they give. Sometimes the code gives a PGA, or sometimes they also call this PGA as Z value also, or ZPA also, zero period acceleration they say. So these are technical the terms. So ZPA or Z value also they call this in the code. So what is the Z value or the zone value? They use this number, but essentially all of them indicate this peak ground acceleration, and its units are in terms of gravity. Okay, because of dead load, or if you want to compare this one, so G is acceleration due to gravity. So if you want it in meter per second square, say, you have to multiply this by 9.81. If you want in centimeter per second square, so you multiply by 981. So this is how we find out these values. Okay, and this is a zone map. Now by looking at the zone map, you tell me which are the most dangerous places earthquake in India, where the values are high. Which is the most dangerous zone? 2, 3, 4, 5. Which is the more where the design value is very high, where Z value is high, in which zone?
Zone 5.
Zone 5. So now where is zone 5 in India? Where are the places?
Northeast region.
No, whole northeast. See, Guwahati was a wind zone map. It was in the second. But Agartala, if you see, wind also horrible, earthquake also horrible actually. Okay. And now whereas not only northeast India is there, you can see some small region above Patna. Okay. And then we have this also in Himachal Pradesh. Then we have near this place, and then somewhere this Kashmir also. Then another thing in South India we have Kutch region actually. Okay, this is in Gujarat. So a lot of earthquakes occur there. So here also it is in zone 5. Now if we see Chennai, Chennai is in which zone? Where our IIT is located. Zone
3.
Zone 3. So what is the design value for Chennai? If somebody asks you, so Z value for Chennai, what is your answer? What is the value here? Zone 3, what is the design value?
0.16 G.
0.16 G. Excellent. Okay. Now you can compare where you are staying, right? All of you are sitting in your houses, so you can compare where is your site and what is the, so where you are located, in the dangerous place or you are located in the safe place. So some of you are in Bangalore, right? So for Bangalore, what is the value zone? What is the design value for Bangalore? Bangalore is in which zone?
2.
2. So design value is very small. Now you can see one small portion is a zone 4 in near Bombay. Bombay is in zone 3, but this is what they call as Koina region actually. Right, there is some reservoir and I think some seismic activity was observed. So zone 4. So now you can, Lakshadweep Islands, zone 3. Andaman is in zone 5. I think some of you would have not noticed. Whole Andaman is under zone 5 only. Okay. So you can compare where you are located, whether you are earthquake, safe place or design values are high actually. So this is the first map you should be able to identify in our IS code. Okay. So now this is a new seismic zone map is going to come up in our IS code, and unfortunately or fortunately followed it, we only are developing this zone map. Okay, it may come in the codes by this year end. So this is a new zone map. This is very old map, okay, which was done in 2000 or maybe that one. So now we have revised. And other thing was in our this old zone map say. So wind map, we had the concept of return period, but when it comes to earthquakes, there is no concept of return period actually. So there was no risk levels, they were not specifying. So now to make harmonized the codes say. So now what we have done is for earthquakes also we have made a the return period also. So we have introduced this concept. So based on this, we have developed a new seismic zone map for India, and here the return period is for earthquakes say the design thing is 2,500 years. We followed. So this is a new map. The old map, existing map, no return period concept, but the new map which is going to come up in the code say maybe by this year end, it will have a return period concept, and its TR is 2,500 years. Or if you write in terms of probabilities, it is basically 2% probability of accidents. Okay, in 50 years. So this is what you see. We say like yesterday I told you, right, the probability of accidents and this one, so probability of that I think I showed you, right, in 15 n years say. I have written also. This is approximately that 1 by 1 minus TR I have written, n by TR kind of a thing you have. This is the expression. So if design life is 50 years, say apartments, TR is a 2,500 say. Okay. So this turns out to be, you see, 2% probability. Okay. So this also a new concepts have come into your code. So this is what because I am showing you, because we only are developing this map, responsible for this one. So this new concept is going to come up in our things. So this is 2%. How to select? So all these values they correspond to 2% risk actually in 50 years. So if in Gauhati, the design value will be slightly higher, 0.6 G. For other place, it is a 0.15. But the risk level is the same for entire country itself. So that insurance companies, their premium can be seen through the whole India itself. So this risk levels has been brought up in the new code. Okay, so just to keep it in your mind. Maybe this December or something, this new code may come up in the code itself. Okay, so fine. But right now the code doesn't have any of this detail. So this is official map. Yeah, so now anyway, so this is our equilibrium they use also. These are our equations of motion for a single degree of freedom system. We will not go into the details, and so this is what they say. So this is our accelerations, earthquake acceleration. So if I do a time history analysis and then subject to a 1 second period system say, so I have a single degree of freedom system which has a time period of 1 second. 1 second is the time period of which is multi-story building. So 1 second is a period. So frequency is 1 by t. It is 1 hertz. So 1 hertz means which structure? The natural frequency. Which structure has a natural frequency of 1 hertz?
10-story building.
10-story building. Excellent. So this is a response of a 10-story building. You followed, right? So you can see. So this is an input force. So if I take a 10-story building, say, that is a response will be like this. It will be very, very smooth because its natural frequency is 1 second or 1 hertz. So it only amplifies the energy of 1 hertz only. Okay, so like that it happens. So finally, what we do in our design also, we use this concept of the response spectra. We will not go in, just briefly I will just mention you. Okay, so what one does is I have an earthquake acceleration time history, say like Sikkim earthquake or something. I will give input to a 3-second system. I will give input to a 2.5 seconds. I will give input to a 2 second. I will give input to 1.5. I will give input to variety of these single degree of freedom systems whose time period is different. And I will pick up the maximum value, say 0.255, then 0.274, like this. I will pick up these maximum values, and then I will develop a graph where my graph x-axis is a time period. Okay, or you can plot with time period, or you can plot with respect to frequency, reciprocal of this thing, these maximum values. So 0.255 is pointed here, 255, and its corresponding time period is 3 seconds. Then 2.5 systems, this one say. So this graph we call as usually the response spectra actually. Okay, so response spectra is nothing but the maximum response of a single degree of freedom system to a given this ground motions. So maximum response. Okay, you will study this in detail in your other course also, single degree of freedom system. Okay, for a given earthquake input. Okay, so this is the most important graph actually. Okay, so this is what the definition of response spectrum. It is defined as the maximum response of a single degree of freedom system for a given seismic input. So you plot these type of graphs, they look something like this. For a particular earthquake, displacement spectra, velocity, accelerations, you can find out all these graphs. So our IS code also gives you this type of a smooth design chart actually. Okay, so it is just a chart is like this. So type 1, type 2, type 3, they give these type of a charts. So this is nothing but the response spectra, we say. Okay, so it is nothing but the maximum response of a single degree of freedom system. So because it is a code, right, it should be valid for the entire country. So they have smoothened this shape itself. Okay, so now this is how they have an equation also given in IS 1893. You can plot this graph, yourself, and they have dampings also, variety of damping values they give you. Damping is a material property. So for steel structures, say damping is I think some 2 to 3% will be there. For RCC structures, 5%, like that they will give you all these type of design charts. So now the procedure is very simple. So finally, you have to find out this AH. So this is a formula given in our code, the seismic coefficient method. So it is defined as Z by 2, I by R, SA by G. Z is the zone value. Okay, I is the importance factor, they say. So it depends on the type of the building, like hospitals, say it's a very important structure like that. And then R is response reduction factor. Some nonlinear something is getting, and SA by G comes from that graph. This is a response factor. Okay, so and this is a horizontal load, right? So for horizontal load we define as base shear actually. So this AH you find out, substitute here, multiply by the weight of the building, so you will get your base shear, how much shear you have to design, say, your structure itself. Okay, this is how the code says. So the seismic zone already I showed you, 0.1, 0.16, 0.25, 0.36. Then importance factors, you can see community buildings, monumental structures, hospitals, schools, all these things, you have to use 1.5. All other ordinary buildings, say, you can use importance factor as 1 itself. So this is I factor. Then we have R factor also. So here also, depending on the structures, a code gives you these type of numbers. Movement resisting frame, this much, steel frame, it will be 5. Then shear wall, all these numbers will be given. Now, and also they give you one formula to find out the time period, okay, based on the height of the building. So this is also one, the thumb rule was 0.1 times n, that is a number of stories, but this is a much better formula. Okay, so they give, so this is a for steel frames, say the time period can be found out. So 0.085 h to the power of 0.75. So this is the formula which you have to use for steel buildings. And the height of the building, so substitute here, you will find out your time period. So you can see here, as height increases, what happens to the building? What happens to time period? It increases or decreases? Now as h increases, what happens to its time period? Increases. Obviously, yes, it is. So Burj Khalifa's time period, and if I compare some other buildings, say, what happens? Which building has the highest natural time period? Man-made building.
Burj Khalifa.
Obviously, it is the tallest building, no? In the I think I don't know. Taipei 101 will have time period will be less because its height is less actually. Okay, so this also like a thumb rule, you can easily calculate. So this also time period they give you based on the height. So once you know these numbers say. So once you know a time period, you come back to this response spectrogram. Suppose if the time period is 1 second. Okay, so pick up from this graph what is the value, and if your site is located on rock or medium soil, say. So pick up from this value. So for 1 second, it is approximately, if it is rock type site, so it turns out to 1. So this also is known to us 1. So SA by G is 1 itself, or substitute here in this expression also. So time is 1 say. You can use this chart or you can use this expression. So you can easily find out. So now if you are designing a hospital, what is it? Suppose if I am designing in Northeast India like Guwahati. Now, so what is the Guwahati? What will be the Z value in Guwahati? What is the Z value? You remember that map I showed you. Now what is the Z value? I showed you that seismic zone map. 0.36. Okay, this is a Z value. It is available in that map. And if I am designing a hospital building, say, what will be I? Important building. So what is the I factor? I showed you, right? What is the value of I? No. 1.5 as Guwahati is in zone 5, so 0.36. Okay, so now this I factor is also 1.5, and let us say I'm designing a steel building. The full building is made up of steel. What is the response reduction factor here? No. Full steel building. See, these are all RC steel frame. This one steel movement resisting frame designed as per SP6. So let us say I have done a steel movement frame, eccentric brace also. What is the response reduction factor? What is R factor?
5.
What is R factor? 5. If I put eccentric also, it becomes a 5 itself. So 4 to 5, something like that. So this also is known to me. So R is also 5. Now SA by G I have to calculate. So SA by G to calculate, I should know its time period. Okay. So let us take this H is here. So I should know the height of the building. If I'm building a building of 200 meters or 300 meters, substitute here, you will get the time period. Let us say approximately my time period is 1 second, say. So for 1 second, what I have to do, and let us say it is located on rock type of soil, say. So for 1 second, I will come here, I will pick up the value here. So I will get this value itself. So SA by G is also 1. So now I know all these numbers. So I can calculate AH from this expression. Once I know AH, I will multiply by weight. W is nothing but weight of the building. The weight means dead load, the imposed load. You add all those things. So you multiply. I will get my base shear of the building itself. So this is how we calculate for seismic things. Okay. So anyway, I think time is done. So I will stop here. So next class we will continue. I will just show you one small design example, and then we will close this seismic thing, and immediately we will go back to our the design itself. So if there are any questions, you can ask. So let me stop recording.